Hey, look at that. We are good and ready to go. Let's see. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's go. Isn't that nice? Good morning, friends. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. It is 8 minutes past 5 in the morning. We're about to start the morning routine. It's Tuesday morning, so we're doing mobility. I appreciate you dropping by, saying hi in chat. If you show up and are here, just let me know you're watching. Leave some support. Makes it a bit less lonely and a bit more fun to be doing the workouts early morning when we're not alone all the time. For those of you who are watching and don't know me, my name's Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night, and guess what? Last night I managed to get absolutely 8 hours of sleep. So last night was a good night. I also try to mind what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. My goal is to maintain my weight. I don't want to get heavier. I don't want to get lighter. I do want to exchange some soft tissue for lean mass, so therefore the strength and weight workouts. But overall, the energy requirement for my current weight is what I am definitely good with. That's around 2200 calories for me. Could be different for anyone who fits my shape or size because we are all different, but that's what it comes down to for me. And for someone who enjoys eating and who has both a slight challenge with portion control. I won't say that I'm out of control in eating, but I do like big portions, and who can eat a bag of crisps in one sitting, big one, or a huge tub of ice cream relatively quickly. Managing that has been challenging, but I've made strides in that, and I've managed to stay within the healthy range of my weight for the time being. I try to eat a lot of greens. I add some meat and fish to that a couple of times per week. And I try to stay within my protein goals or hit my protein goals to support my strength and muscle building goals. That means that generally it comes down to around 70 grams of protein in a regular day. On training days, I let that go up to 80 to 100 grams of protein, which is 1 gram per kilogram of body weight and a bit more, just to help me develop that lean mass at the expense of the fat mass. I show up for training. I do strength training, I do conditioning training, I do strength conditioning training, I do mobility work, I go for sprints, I go for runs, jogs, long walks. After this training, I'm going to go for a 30-45 minute walk, which I do every morning, which is just low intensity, steady state cardio, like barely get out of zone 1 on that walk, but it is a nice walk in nature, peace and quiet, and we'll talk a bit more about that during the podcast that I record in the mornings as well. I try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, generally try to live a stress-free life. So hey, if that's something you're interested in, maybe hit like on the stream, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. We can continue the conversation about health and fitness in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in different ways. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I always think it's important to mention that because there's a lot of media out there that depicts that we need to look a certain way to meet a certain standard. That is absolutely unrealistic. Having been in and out of the gym for 25 years and having struggled with weight maintenance, weight loss, food, exercise, I can tell you that normal is not what we see in the media. So that's why I think the media is very much about what we look like. We want to focus on how we feel. I want to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. That's why we're doing all of this. So the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work, which is why we're going to get started. And you can follow along, you can say hi in chat, and we can have a conversation about health and fitness and what that means in our 30s and 40s. And if you have any questions, you go ahead and let me know and just ask. All right. It is, by the way, 11 minutes past 5 in the morning. It is Tuesday morning. That means that we're at the peak of spring, going into summer. And it is good weather outside. Blue skies, nice and warm. Pleasant to be outdoors. Which is why I am enjoying the morning walks so much. I'll probably be able to do those through the end of September, maybe middle of October, and then November and December I'm going to have to do something slightly different because it is going to be dark and cold outside. It's worth thinking about what that then is going to be. Am I going to shift the time schedule of my walk? Which absolutely is an option. Am I going to not go for a walk, do other kind of exercises at home? Am I going to expand the kettlebell circuit by 30 minutes to get some cardiovascular benefit, but not the peace of mind and the fresh air benefits? What are we going to do? It's not a big problem to solve, but it is definitely one that merits some thinking. Well, hey. So, figuring out how am I going to put this? I had a good night's sleep last night. I slept 8 hours. For this, I am very grateful, very happy. I think it was a good sleep. Everyone slept well. Everyone slept through the night. There were no interruptions. But yesterday I was listening to a podcast, a conversation between Dr. Mike and I forget the other gentleman's name. It's a scientist interested in longevity and research. And what he said something interesting about longevity. And I think for me, one of the key takeaways from that conversation was, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know and don't understand. And that there's a lot of information out there presented as fact that actually is unsubstantiated or based on misrepresenting research or misinterpreting research, if we want to be kind, or the presentation of false information designed to limit the amount of productive conversation that has been there. And so it's hard to actually understand the nuances of the general guidelines that are shared with us for certain things. So, for example, for sleep, I always say, well, you need to get between 7 and 9 hours, right? That's what we're trying to plan for. Not necessarily more than 9 hours, definitely not less than 7. Well, I was very happy that he said in his podcast as well that, there's a cutoff point at 7 hours of sleep. I was like, all right, that confirms what I've read and learned elsewhere. But he said, 8 hours might be optimal, but too many hours above 8 hours it's not necessarily better for you. And there I was like, oh, hang on. Now I need to revisit my notes and my sources, because I was under the impression that more than 8 hours wasn't necessarily a bad thing, especially as we grow older or put intense demands on our bodies to help them recover and maintain function. So I would have to I'll look into that again to understand my claim of 7 to 9 hours and to understand the nuances of the effects of a lack of sleep that they might have on us versus and the effect of too much sleep, and what is too much and what markers or guidelines should we be aware of to actually help us understand, even though I think the biggest challenge for most of us is to try to hit 7 to 8 hours consistently by managing our bedtime and our wake time. I think that we have a lot to gain in that area of life already. And keep in mind, I'm not an expert, right? I'm not a research scientist or a coach. The only thing I am is the only thing I have is my interest and the ambition to stay fit and healthy for as long as I can. And I think there are certain things that make intuitive sense to me. And there's always danger, right, when things make sense, that we start to look for opinions, facts, research that confirms our intuition. But the point is to figure out what the reality is. And there are a lot of tiny nuances to health and fitness, also in relation to the facts that are presented, right? So things that work for the general population, which is the average person, can be very true, but it can also be true that something doesn't work for an individual. And they require a very different approach. And then we need to understand why, for that individual, the general guidelines don't all work, because it's usually one or two things that do not work, if you understand what I mean. It's not that all of the guidelines fail. It's that because of certain conditions, genetics, or other reasons, that we need to have some nuance. And luckily, there are people who research that and want to understand those nuances and who want to help us make better choices. So, just keep in mind that I am one voice of many here online, and I think you will find more. And it's good to look beyond social media for insights and advice on topics like these, right? There are doctors, dietitians, lifestyle coaches, health coaches, cardiologists, neurologists, research scientists in real life who you can reach out to and have conversations with about the choices you're trying to make and the impact they might have on you and a professional with either clinical, practical, or theoretical experience might point you in similar but slightly different directions. And that is because they research and understand the subject through different lenses. And conforming to your beliefs and understanding of the world, you might see more or different things through different research papers. You might pick up different nuances, different hints, different interpretations. I think within that, within all the nuances that can exist in the discourse about our general health and fitness, I think we can state with a reasonable degree of certainty that the general health of the population is not trending well in a direction that we should be ignoring the prevalence of diseases that can be prevented through different lifestyle changes is obvious, and at the same time we shouldn't judge people for the lifestyle that they've adopted given the world that we've created over the last 40 or 50 years. I think we would change the environment and the availability behaviors would almost automatically change with them. So that's one, right? Two, the foundations of staying healthy, right? What keeps us functioning well and good? Sleep, food, movement, connection, relationships, and doing things that we enjoy. For the sake of mastering them, for the sake of our own pleasure and fulfillment. I think it's quite clear that having those factors present in life, physically, emotionally, and mentally, keep us healthy over time. But you can sleep as well as you want, eat as well as you want, exercise as much as you want. If the environment you live in is toxic because you live near a chemical plant that dumps chemicals into the air, water supply, and soil, well, there's no amount of good sleep and good food that's going to counteract the impact that might have on your life. So that's something we need to be mindful of as well. Is that you, poor man's Jim? Let's see. It is. Oh, Matt and Mouse. Hey. Thanks for your videos. Kettlebells versus dumbbells. Dumbbells are ready. You need to go shopping as well. Matt and Mouse. Hey, thanks for dropping by. It is good to see you, and I appreciate you dropping by on the channel and saying hello. And I can discuss the difference between kettlebells and dumbbells. So I can actually give you the quick breakdown right now, if you have a minute. But if you have dumbbells, you don't need to go shopping at all, actually. Starting at the top, for you, the whole point of the kettlebells is to build in some resistance training, and we do that by lifting, pushing, pulling, carrying weights. Why? Because that is what we have to do in order to build muscle, which is important for longevity, because we want to maintain our strength and our ability to lift, carry, push and pull. We want to maintain our bone density through life and living. And whether you do that with dumbbells or with kettlebells, actually doesn't make a big difference. There are distinct exercises you can do with kettlebells like the kettlebell swing, the kettlebell snatch, and because of the way the weight is distributed, the handle and the ball, right, it is more unpredictable, so it puts a different kind of strain on your body and on your muscles than a kettlebell is, because the kettlebell weight is relatively well distributed alongside the handle, so it always stays in the same place. And that's the biggest difference. But you can do deadlifts, squats, overhead presses, clean and presses with both dumbbells and kettlebell. So I'd say it's a matter of preference beyond anything else. And I hope that's a good answer to your question. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. You made my day. And I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. You got any new videos coming up? For anyone who's watching, Matt and Mouse have an amazing channel about the outdoors and about a good life. Definitely worth checking out. If you're watching here, might take a look there. So I watched one of their videos recently and it just made me happy. So, and you're welcome, I think. You said something in the chat that looks like thank you from this distance. I'll check it out in a moment. It's a bit hard to keep up with the chat in the middle of a side plank. You got any? Do? Always makes me curious when people own a set of weights, what they do. Do you do any kind of regular training or exercising? Or do you just live a very active, outdoorsy lifestyle with a lot of movement already? Because generally, I'd say, training and exercise is a substitute for active living. You're very welcome. The next one's in the line, so yes. See, there you go. So we'll have a cool new video coming out sooner rather than later, hopefully. And we're doing the final exercises. With the kettlebells, plank, and then we're going to call it a day and move on to the podcast. So all this core stability work is great. Keeps us upright, keeps us moving well. And that's it. I have some light weights. Use on the elliptical. Oh, there you go. I think light weights, heavy weights. I think we overestimate how many weights we actually need to push in order to gain some health benefits. I think the most important thing is that we're moving some resistance, and if the goal isn't to become a bodybuilder or the strongest man in the world, you can get a lot done with light and medium weights. You don't need heavy weights at all, and using them while we're on the elliptical is, strength endurance kind of training, which helps us maintain strength, builds a little bit of muscle, and helps our heart. I'd say, that's that might be sufficient for your goals. So there you go, right? And I use 4 kilos and 8 kilos because I'm recovering from a back injury. And I'm getting quite a lot of work done with the 8 kilo and with the 4 kilo already. So weights and how many weights there are, we don't have to worry about that too much as long as we're doing something. Let's just take a minute, catch our breath. Just going to breathe in, breathe out a couple of times. I'm just going to remind us that, this is about the way we look. This is about the way we feel, not about the way we look. It's always silly when I confuse that. But we don't want to look like Instagram influencers or all of those great shots that you see online. That's impressive. This is about health. I want to feel fit, capable, and competent for living an adventurous, self-sufficient, and active life, right? We're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves, who we are today, before we can move on. It's the person we are today that's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way, okay? There are enough people out there who want to put us down so we can lift ourselves up, friends. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So hit like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for another workout. And Matt and Mouse, I really appreciate you dropping by. Look forward to that new video when it comes out. Okay, there you go. Just keep your body moving every day. That's what I say as well, and that's why I show up every morning for 30 minutes for a workout. I appreciate the conversation. I look forward to continuing it with you in the future. And let's keep talking and making content. That's it. That's all I have for you today, friends. I'll see you in my next video. And remember, friends, subscribe.